What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I wanted to talk about some of the manga I read in September and just wanted to highlight some of my favorites. So, those of y'all that might have been following me for a little while, y'all know I love talking about manga when I can, but unfortunately, life has changed, kids and stuff is getting a lot busier over the years since I've been doing this, so I haven't been able to do as many individual manga reviews as I used to, and I miss doing that. So I figured I was like, you know what, you know, this might be a way for me to at least still talk about a lot of the and highlight some of my favorite manga, without having to do a whole bunch of individual, separate videos and stuff, whatever, and this kind of allow me to highlight some of my favorites. So yeah, so let's go and just dive right in. So let me see which one I want to do first. Okay, so the first one I want to do is called I'm the Grim Reaper. This is one I just read a few minutes ago, finally got around to it. Um, the story and art is done by Grave Weaver, and it is physically published by Viz Media, but I know the series has been running in Webtoon for some years. So the pretty much the setup and premise of this one is that it follows this young lady named who is going by the name of Scarlet, and pretty much the story kind of just kicks off with her waking up in hell and the devil saying, "Hi, welcome to hell. I'm about to send you down to the ninth level because you were a horrible person when you were alive. But if you want to escape that fate, then how's about you become the Grim Reaper for me? And as long as you meet a daily quota of at least reaping the soul of one sinner, then it's all good. You won't get into the ninth ring of hell." And so that was definitely a very interesting way for this to kick off and to start. And one of the things that I enjoyed about what I read in this first volume is that it does a nice job of both sprinkling in some breadcrumbs as both you as a reader and Scarlet as a character are trying to figure out who she was, why did she end up being sent to hell, what sin did she commit that was so bad that she is in this position. So that is one thing looming in the background. And then along the way, as she is encountering these different people, different sinners and stuff, she also begins to question the whole thing because it's like some people is like, okay, obviously, okay, this person is a serial killer, all right, makes sense. But then there are some other people that it's like, because basically after she reaps a person's soul, her and that person both appear before the devil, and you kind of get a little insight into who this person was, why they were considered a sinner, and some of the things that these people did. You kind of be like, was that really that bad? And so it definitely kind of starts to lead Scarlett to questioning some things. And so I feel like that'll be a nice extra wrinkle to all of this. Of like I said, the overarching thing is trying to figure out who Scarlett was in her previous life before she died and piecing all that together. But I do also enjoy, or I did also enjoy a lot of these individual stories um, that happen along the way. And you know what? It kind of makes me think about what was that one anime? I think it was called Death Parade, where the people came into this kind of like limbo bar and you kind of get to learn a little bit about their backstory, and then the characters were trying to decide like, okay, this person goes to heaven or hell. It's kind of making me think about that now that I'm like sitting here and talking through this, whatever. So but yeah, so I'm the Grim Reaper, Volume 1. Like I said, I just wanted to touch on it a little bit briefly, just give a little bit of a idea of what these different stories and stuff were. But like I said, it's from Viz Media and it's out now. Pretty much everything I'm gonna talk about now is currently available. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, so Tank Chair is the next series I want to talk about. Tank Chair Volume 1, published by Kodansha, and the series is created by Manabu Yashiro. So, once again, I'm kind of noticing a reoccurring theme here. So, Tank Chair basically follows an assassin who is now comatose. And so, basically, this guy, he was he was a highly skilled assassin, and he had a younger sister who got taken hostage. Things went down. He ends up taking a bullet to the head and basically goes into a slightly coma slash vegetative state. And the only thing that gets him to come alive, so to speak, or whatever, or regain his senses temporarily, is when he senses killing intent uh, aimed at him directly. Because there was like a scene early on where his little sister was just kind of just there with him in like the hospital that he's in, just being like, man, like, and there was like a fly on his face, and she was like, man, like, you can't even kill a fly now. And as she is moving in to try to like smack the fly or whatever, he awakens, grabs her hand, and he's like, yo, what's the situation? What's going on? And so, pretty much, the story of this follows the younger sister taking on hitman contracts to basically find some of like the deadliest assassin targets and stuff for her brother to take on, in hopes of maybe this might help him fully regain his consciousness and stuff. And so this was definitely like so it was a very brutal, action and stuff, whatever. And forgive me, y'all, I forgot to say this back on the Grim Reaper. I'm the Grim Reaper, but that series, the art in that was very cool, very stylish. Forgot to say that on that. But with Tank Chair, the art and stuff on this is like very cool, very dynamic. Like I said, very gory. Um, because it's just this dude in this like suit wearing like a rabbit mask helmet thing, and he's in a wheelchair, but he's like zooming around, slicing and dicing people up to pieces. And so it is just an awesome, just like action heavy series. And like I said, it's just kind of cool just seeing the different situations that these characters end up in. Because like I said, like he's only kind of awakened for a set amount of time. And so there's like some situations to where he might be getting attacked from long range. And so it's like something might be coming at him from like a far distance. And then like at the very last second, he like wakes up and like dodges a bullet or something crazy. So, but yeah, it was a pretty interesting read. One I'm gonna definitely want to check out more of. But like I said, yeah, Tank Chair out from a Kodansha. So on to the next one. Okay, so continuing on the theme of violence, the next series I want to talk about is called Tougen Anki Legend of the Cursed Blood. This one was published by Yen Press, and the story and art is done by Ura Shibara and Ko Ransom. So, this series follows Shiki Ichinose, who has the blood of an Oni. And so, in this world, you kind of have these two kind of warring factions, the Oni and then the Momotaro faction. And so the dope thing about this story, so I guess like the kind of setup with this is that Shiki was found abandoned when he was a child or a baby. I can't remember which one. and is taken in by this guy. This guy raises him, so on and so forth. And so when Shiki becomes a young adult and stuff, um, some things happen to his father that and during this situation, whatever, he begins to get told about his Oni blood. And so one of the dope things about this series, and I love series that have powers and abilities that have a activation word. And what I mean by that is if you've seen or read Bleach, when a character says Bankai, and then, their ability awakens, whatever the case may be, or whenever, like in Jujutsu Kaisen, somebody says a certain thing for their domain expansion, something like that. So these characters have abilities that are basically centered around their blood. And so Shiki's, he is able to create weapons, but this is one of the cases of, I remember I saw this manga on the list many, many months ago about, oh, this is, stuff coming up, stuff that got licensed, whatever. And just upon the initial just glancing at the cover and passing, I was kind of like, nothing really speaking to me, whatever. But this is one of the cases of, I happened to, as I was like looking at upcoming manga at the time, I was like, okay, let me look at this Tougen Anki again. And I was checking through Twitter, looking at posts, whatever, and people were posting images of panels from the manga of the different characters activating the different abilities. And like, man, like the artwork looks so dope, so fantastic. And like I said, just like some of these characters' abilities, like I said, just like when you see certain characters, Bankai's and Bleach, even if you just see an image of the ability, you're like, yo, who is this person? What is this series? I need to know more. And so that's what this series does, is that, like I said, you kind of get this initial setup and learning about these warring factions. And so Shiki eventually ends up enrolling in basically a school for young Oni to kind of teach them to master their abilities to help in the greater fight against the uh, Momotaro clan and stuff like that. So I really liked this first volume. Like I said, just from like the glances I got of stuff later on in the story, whatever, I am definitely very excited to see more of these different characters, the surrounding cast, different abilities and stuff. And so I feel like that this is one that's just, it's kind of like shonen junk food, to where it might not be the craziest, most unique story, but just a simple premise, having super dope art, super dope abilities for these characters, whatever, is enough to like really just make me go like, you know what? Maybe I'll read more of this. So yeah. So that's Tougen Anki, like I said, from Yen Press. So check it out. So on to the next one. Actually, last thing I'm gonna say about Tougen Anki as well, that also kind of made it circle back on my radar, is that this and some other manga I'm gonna talk about in a second. This has an anime coming out in 2025. So if they can visually nail these abilities and stuff, whatever, that's gonna be a dope spectacle to see. So on to the next one. From old country bumpkin to master swordsman. Oh Lord, the title the title has gone off the page. What is it? My hotshot disciples are all grown up now and they won't leave me alone. That title is super long and ridiculous, but I promise you, this one is a fun read. Y'all know me, especially obviously as I've become older. I'm 34 currently. I'm a father of five. I love seeing more series recently embrace the older MC uh, with the dad vibes, even if they're not actually a dad. But so this one follows a sword master named Beryl. And so I love the setup of this to where you kind of get this kind of like a narrator telling you about there are all these top of the line class swordsmen all across the country, and they all came from one master. And so the story kind of starts off with us seeing Beryl, current day. He's middle aged. I think he's probably about his 40s now, and he is taking over as a teacher at his father's dojo. So he's kind of just lamenting about his hopes and dreams of how he wanted to become a great adventurer and go on missions and all this stuff, whatever. But he was like, but sadly I'm just a teacher or whatever. um and then he ends up running into one of his pupils, who is now the lead commanding knight of the order for the kingdom that they live in or whatever. And he is just admiring how much she's grown in the years since she's seen him or whatever, or since he taught her, and how you know the title that she has now means that she is now pretty much the strongest swordsman in the kingdom. So he, he feels proud of that. That hey, somebody that he taught back in the day is now this high class swordsman. Well, she talks to him. She's like, hey, master, they catching up or whatever. And basically, she's like, yeah. So I was offered the position as to train the knights of the order, whatever. He's like, oh, that's an awesome job, whatever. And she was like, but I turned it down, and I recommended you for the job, and we need you to start right now. And so from there, things just briskly take us away as he is now in front of this order of knights, just dumbfounded of like why would they want me, some old guy, teaching these swordsmen who are probably better than me, who my student is probably way stronger than me too, or whatever. And so that is kind of like a dope thing about this series, is that it has a little bit of that fun playfulness with Beryl and his interactions with his various pupils and stuff. Because throughout this first volume, you meet at least I think 3 to 4, from what I remember, of his former pupils who all have these crazy titles. Like another one was like Twin Blade, so and so, and this high class magician, just like all these crazy titles. But they all still honor and respect him. And I love how, like I said, even though there's like this playful nature with the story, it also kind of, or they have these moments, like example, him and the two young ladies that he ran into, or the one he was with, and they ran into this other one. They went by this blacksmith. And so while his students were doing their shopping, talking, or whatever, he's just looking at a random sword. And the shop owner's like, "Oh, are you interested in this or whatever?" And so his students, and he's like, "No, no, no, I'm just shopping around." And then the girls are like, his pupils are like, "Hey, master, we haven't seen you in action in a long time, whatever. Hey, hey, test out the sword, test it out." And then he's like, "Man, really?" And he's like, "Okay." And then he kind of goes into like this zone where he has like these uh, facial expressions of seriousness, and then the kind of like this like wooden dummy thing, whatever. He like sliced through it, clean cut, and the thing was still standing or whatever. And so you have little moments like that throughout, to where obviously a lot of these characters, like some of the other knights of the order, are like, okay, who is this random old guy that they're trying to say is better than the leader of the knights, whatever. Okay, he was her teacher back when she was a kid, maybe, but he ain't all that. But there's these moments where it's like, hey, okay, hey, try me if you want to, to where he slightly zones out and flexes a little bit, and then kind of like, oh, okay, all right, this man's the goat, this man's the real deal. But yeah, so like I said, it has a nice balance, and I'm very excited to see more of this story. So this is another one that also has an anime coming out early next year. I think it's scheduled for April. So very excited to see this in action. It kind of reminds me of there was an anime that came out a couple seasons ago. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, this series, My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S rank adventure, which I still need to go back and finish. I think I like halfway through. I need to go back and finish it. But this kind of gave me similar vibes to that. So, but yeah, so from Old Country Bumpkin to Swordmaster, this one is published by Yen Press. So the last one, as far as like new stuff, I'm gonna talk about is Trillion Game. So Trillion Game, published by Viz Media, and the story and art is done by Riichiro Inagaki and Ryoichi Ikigami. So this is the new story from the same creator as Dr. Stone. And I think what is it? Inazuma 11? No, no. What is the football one? I Shield 21. Sorry, the same author as Dr. Stone and I Shield 21. So, Trillion Game. This is another one to where like in passing when I saw the cover, I was kind of like, not interested. But I read like a little bit of like the free preview that Viz has on their website or whatever, and I was like, okay, this got my interest. So basically, this follows two young men, one named Haru and another named Gaku. Haru is like a very charismatic, almost like a salesman, to where he can talk his way in and out any type of situation. And then Gaku is a computer programming genius. And so these two guys come together to form a company in order to try to achieve making $1 trillion or becoming trillionaires. And so from the kind of like setup at the beginning of the story, it seems like hey, they did make it there. And then this is the story flashing back telling us about their journey of how they got there. And so originally it was kind of okay, whatever. But like I said, as you kind of read this, get to see the characters in action and the different shenanigans and hijinks of the situations they end up in, because like I said, Haru, he can get you in the room, but hey, then it's just kind of all right. Well, hey, let I'll figure out how to get us into the place, whatever. And then Gaku, hey, I just need you to bring it with the computer skills, whatever. And so it's just some of the situations that they kind of stumble and bumble their way into. It just kind of makes you watch in awe of like, okay, how the heck are these guys going to get out of this situation, or how are they going to use it to their benefit? And each time that it happened in this first volume, I laughed. I was like, yo, they somehow they pulled it off. But Haru, he might seem like he's not very dependable or that he's bluffing, but there's always like a little bit of truth within his bluffs, to where it's like, okay, he might not be 100% for real, but he's also not lying. And so between these two, and then there is a young lady that I can't remember what her name is, uh, Kirahime. They all kind of end up working together, and like I said, just some of the situations that happen are just so hilarious. But like I said, I feel like this is just going to be an all around, just a good time, just saying, okay, hey, you presented us with like, okay, hey, they made it. Now, how did we get from this to that? So, so yeah, so this was like I said, it was just a fun read. This one also has an anime that just started airing this fall season. Um, I haven't watched that first episode yet, and I'm a little bit wary because while the first episode is done by Studio Madhouse, I don't know if it's the A-Team Madhouse because earlier this year we had the A-Team Madhouse working on Free Run, and this season they're also working on Orb, on the Movements of the Earth anime, and the animation for that top notch. The anime for Trillion Gang, not so sure. So I'm kind of worried of how the anime for this might turn out. But as far as like the manga, how the art and that looks, the art looks nice, crisp, and good. So, but yeah, so Trillion Game, all around a pretty much a pretty fun uh, read from what I read so far. So I have a couple other series or things I just want to just shout out that I read this month. So let's get to them. Okay, these last few are going to be just quick shout outs because some of these I've talked about on the main podcast before, but I still just want to just highlight, put on y'all's radar. So y'all know, so recently I had watched Welcome to Demon School or Rumakun. Really enjoyed it. Watched all 3 seasons, all 65 episodes. Super dope series. So the same author that writes Aruma, Osamu Nishi, and the artist Shiro Usazaki, who was the artist on the manga Actage some years back, they have teamed up to create this new manga called Ichi the Witch. And so this series basically takes place in a fantasy world where more or less like, all the women are witches and things like that, but our main character, Ichi, he is a hunter, so he loves to hunt, but he only hunts and kills when something is trying to hurt him or hurt somebody else. So, long story short, this is a situation where, due to certain circumstances, he ends up getting the abilities or getting some uh, magic. He ends up acquiring a magic because in this world, magic or living creatures, or they are represented by like living creatures, and so these witches go out and they hunt them and go through different trials in order to gain access to those magics abilities and stuff. So yeah, so that's what Ichi the Witch is, and so far there are 4 chapters out. It's on Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. Comes out every Sunday with all the other manga. Definitely wanted to shout this one out. Um, this next one, it's not a new one, but I haven't really talked about it too much or whatever. But it is like a fun one that I've been enjoying called Shiba Inu Rooms, and so this one currently has, I believe, 10 chapters, and it basically follows this young lady who moves into this basically haunted apartment complex where all of the apartment rooms have the ghost of Shibu Inus. And so it is basically just the story of this young lady trying to figure out and work through some life stuff that she is going through while also dealing with these haunted Shibu Inu. And so this series does a really good job of straddling the line between some very fun and adorable and cute moments. Because of course you got all these different variations of these Shiba looking so cute and fluffy and stuff. And like I said, just some comedic moments that happen with uh, Corey, the main character, and all her neighbors and stuff, whatever. But of course, there is also this sad backdrop because, as I said, these are the ghosts of Shibu Inu. And so it's like, okay, well, what horrible thing happened to lead to all these, this whole apartment complex full of Shibu Inu? So definitely one worth the read. Like I said, it walks a fine line between, like I said, sweet and wholesome, but also when it hits you with a couple of gut punching moments of like, man, that's very sad. But then they cheer you right back up with the comfort and fluffiness of the series. So yeah, so Shiba Inu also on the Viz app and on Manga Plus. And this one, Hero Organization. We just crossed 3 chapters with this. This is on the Manga Plus app, and this one basically is a sci-fi series that takes place in the future where humanity sends pilots out into space to fight these uh, creatures, these alien creatures known as star beasts. And so the story kind of starts off following this father who helps design these kind of like low level mechs and stuff, and he has a son who is kind of like a prodigy in the virtual reality uh, mech competition world or whatever. And so I don't really want to say too much more beyond that, but just this series so far through these first 3 chapters have kept me on my toes and have been pleasant surprises with just the way the story has already shifted and molded and gone beyond what your initial expectations might have been when the series first started. So I know that's very pretty vague on that one, but like I said, this is definitely one that I recommend reading and checking out for yourself. So, and like I said earlier, like I enjoy series with older MCs. This one, the MC is a dad, family vibes, father son vibes, So, definitely spoke to me. Um, and I think that might be it. There's a couple other things I had checked out. There's another series called Hyken Wizards. That is the new series from the author who created Lord, I can't remember the name of the series. Kakashi. So that one, I'm not 100% sold it. I really like that first chapter or two, whatever. But I don't know. I gotta like really settle into it. But this is another one that kind of takes place in like a magic led world. Like I said, I don't really have too many words to say on it, but I just wanted to shout it out just because of the legacy of the author and their previous works. But yeah. So I think I'm gonna end it there. One more I'm gonna shout out. Only because Volume 2 just came out and I'm about to read that later tonight after I finish recording. But Sister and Giant, a young lady is reborn in another world. Yeah, I know I like my isekais. So the synopsis for this one is reincarnated in another world. Hinako declines the cheat-like powers offered to her and instead takes a vow of sisterhood with the giant Elise, becoming known as the smallest giant. A prim and proper lady might not have a lot in common with a fearsome titan, but the two share a goal, searching for those who once meant so much to them. However, they must be cautious, for just as their strength wins them fame, it also captures the attention of ill-mannered paladin. This was one I read back in August, but like I said, I had to shout out just because Volume 2 just came out and really blew my expectations away because just out the gate, both of these characters, Hinako and Ellis, have more going on, some darker backstories to them than the initial first impression. And it really does a great job of kind of like breadcrumbing along the way of you wanting to know more about who these characters are, what were their past situations, and how they got here. And I'm like, okay, maybe they aren't as, or maybe some of these people aren't as nice and wholesome as they appear to be on the surface. So, yeah, so this one, super dope, fun read. Amazing artwork. Like one of like the early shots of Hinaka was in a bar turning in a quest or came in. This guy was complaining about like, hey, somebody took a quest that I wanted to get. She was like, oh, that would have been us. Apologies, blah blah blah. And so the guy was starting to threaten her. And then the next page is a double page spread of Alice the giant drop kicking through the wall, attacking this dude. And so there's so many like awesome panels and double page spreads of this giant fighting and different stuff like that. So, but yeah, so Sister and Giant, that's the last one I had to show some love to and to shout out. So, but with that being said, thank you so much for watching and or listening. I know this is a pretty long one, but had some great manga to talk about. As always, you can find me everywhere at Danny's to Talk, and make sure to check out my full podcast and my other content because I cover everything from fatherhood and family to manga to anime, TV shows, movies, and some video games. And with that, I am out. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.